You know who'd like to simulate the rest of their season probably is the Chiefs. This is getting a little close for comfort too often, I think. I know, like, guys.
Devil magic.
Dude, no, I think it was honestly in the beginning. It's kind of a paradigm shift for me at this point, because for a lot of the year, I was like, hey, they're living a little dangerously. We know they're really good, but this is too close for comfort. Now I'm starting to be impressed with a team that I don't think is that good, but could win it all. Like, if you think the Chiefs can win it all, which you can never count them out. Like, and we're talking about counting. We're not counting a team out that's 12-1 or whatever it is. But I just don't. I think when you watch them play, if you have an honest conversation, you take the logo off the helmet, you take the last 2 years out of it. If you just landed on Earth and had never seen football, and you were like, watch some Sundays. What do you think of the red team? Red team's not that good. Red team's really good at the end of the game. Red team knows how to win close games. But I don't think the red team's like a world-beaten team. And I don't even like, if you're watching Mahomes right now, there are moments where that Mahomes like QB1 on the planet comes out. Mm-hmm. But you can't tell me watching what we saw in the 4 p.m.s that guy's not the best player on the planet right now. And I'm talking about Josh Allen. For what that's worth, he's still got to beat him in the damn playoffs. But I'm watching the Chiefs, and I'm just kind of like, I'm almost impressed with them. You know, everybody else is like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? I'm like, a lot. And they find ways to win. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
15 straight one-score games.
Yeah, and last year, you know, there's a lot of people that are using last year as an example of why you shouldn't count them out. And, like, just remember, I'm one of a few people who were very loud about this thing. Do not count the Chiefs out. They're going to win the whole thing. And they did. I don't have the same feeling this year. That's not to say they can't do it. Home field advantage is going to be the key, especially when your defense is playing the way your defense is playing. Like last year, the reason they were able to stay afloat through the drops, through tackle play, which people kind of forgot about because of the drops, and the tackle play was terrible. And the tackle play played into the drops too, because the more you got to hurry and throw the ball away because guys are throwing no-hitters up front, you're going to be throwing balls into contested areas of the field. Zones don't, expand where you can just find soft spots and that sort of thing. Like the Mahomes we saw a couple years ago, better receivers, better time to throw. And now he's got, an aging Hopkins who can still go get it, right? You got an aging Kelce. Schuster's making plays. Juju. You've got some of the old cast members that have popped up. Pacheco's back. But I don't look at this team and, stack it up against some of the other teams in the league. If Mahomes isn't in this offense, it's not that great of an offense. And it starts with the tackle position. And to see them sign Humphreys, who was supposed to be like a stopgap, we talked about how excited everybody was that he got in the building. Not much changed last night. I mean, he was under siege, and then Humphreys got hurt. Guy hadn't played in years, like a couple years, right? Coming off an injury.
Yeah, but Mahomes is so good at avoiding the rush. And I texted our group chat because I took a foray into sports betting for the first time all season this year. And I bet the over on sacks, okay, which is 6.5. I bet the over of sacks, and I parlayed it with the Chargers win. And I was like, oh, this is fucking genius. Like, Saints O-line or the O-line for the Chiefs is banged up, and the Chargers have a great defense. They got Mack, they got Bosa. They had 6 sacks in that final drive, okay. Pat Mahomes evades that sack, gets the ball to Kelce, and they kick a field goal off the upright to win. I'm like, oh my God, like I just lost this bet on this. You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable.
Dude, I lost my ass yesterday.
I was losing my mind. Now I understand why you guys come on here and bitch about these bets every week. I get it. I understand. It's unbelievable.
Dude, it's wild. And I stared at it, bought the Chiefs down to 3 and was like, I should buy them down to 2. And, of course, the Buffalo disaster that happened to me in the 4 p.m.s and happened to a lot of Americans because that was a pretty public play. It's a public year. Sometimes you got to be like, oh, I'm gonna go public because it's a public year. But I look at Kansas City, and I just think with the shots, I mean, Palmer, that shot was there in the first half. They couldn't hit it. multiple explosives, a lot of explosives over the last few weeks, especially. I think that's the thing that worries me most about this team. If they have a fantastic defense like they had last year, then you can get, and there were moments last night where they played well, but they only got 10 pressures, not bringing pressure last night. I mean, on 26, like 10 quarterback pressures, was that? No, that was the Bills got 10 pressures.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs might have got even less.
Yeah.
Outside of bringing pressure. Spags has to dial it up. If Spags has to dial it up too much and in situations where he otherwise wouldn't, I think you can end up in trouble. And I think Omenahu coming back helps, but somebody besides Chris Jones has to win a lot of rushes for them, because the coverage is not as good as it was last year. Snead being gone makes a huge difference. Willie Gay being gone underneath makes a difference. Watson being hurt. There's matchups now that when you come into a game against the Chiefs, there's some guys that they look like food. And that's not something I'm used to seeing, right? And I think also McDuffie could play in places that he was most comfortable last year. Snead leaving changes that. So there's a lot that they've had to cover up on defense, and they're still doing a pretty good job considering, the points on the board ultimately is what matters. But if you look at them the last month of the season, like the Panthers game, the shots that the Raiders hit last night, I mean, McConkey's down. Who do you have to worry about?
Right.
This guy Stone Smart's killing you. Palmer's killing you. There's guys getting open. He's got
Johnson
time.
played pretty well.
Huh?
Quentin Johnson played pretty good for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Or Jesus, for the Chargers.
For the Chargers, yeah. Quentin Johnson caught a ball early in the game that he wouldn't have caught any other game, I feel like.
Yeah.
And you're going to get people's best shot as well. And that's part of it for the Chiefs is Chiefs fans will tell you, we're getting everybody's best shot. And I totally agree with you. But that's the reality. So are the Lions. The Lions are getting everybody's best shot. The thing about the Lions is they have the capability to blow teams out, which I know winning close games is a big part of winning in the playoffs. But it also matters what your point differential is and that sort of thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't even look at it. It's kind of a barometer for how good your team is. And so my biggest worry is if they don't get home field advantage, which with the Bills losing yesterday, it looks a lot more likely that they do, that it's hard to go on the road without an elite defense in the NFL and win. And that's what they had last year, and it allowed them the opportunity to get into the dance. The plays they made in that Baltimore game. Part of that's an assist with Baltimore not running the football. Mm-hmm. I don't feel as good about a Baltimore rematch. The first time they had them, they had the receivers on the field, right? They were healthy, and Baltimore committed a ton of penalties, which is not, kind of out of character for them. That could happen again in the playoffs, but Chiefs are going to have to live dangerously to win it all again. And so
I'm worried about the Chiefs getting down against a team early in the playoffs, and I feel like they've been in these close games, but they haven't really. I don't know. You see all the stats early in the season of Mahomes coming back down 10 points and winning and things like that. It just feels like lately they're grinding out these not sexy wins, and I'm worried about them in the playoffs getting down to a team I don't know,
like the Ravens.
Bills, that'd be like the Ravens, exactly.
Because I don't think they have the guys to really eat up points in a hurry. That's all I'm saying. Hey, this is incredible what they've been able to do. It's incredible they're the number one seed this late into the season. So we're nitpicking a little bit, but if we're being honest, there are some things that are concerning. They're winning this game in a similar fashion to the way the Chargers had to win last week. It's a low-scoring game against the Falcons. I mean, that team got blown out by the Ravens. Ravens were too much for them. And then they're playing a tight game with the Falcons. It's the same thing against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. So, they came out in the third quarter. I was super impressed. Got into more third and manageables. It felt like the whole first half. The Chiefs did a good job in keeping them in third and long. And so, for Harbaugh's crew, they're still in the thick of it in the wild card. And what did Harbaugh say after the game? I'm only wounded. It's just a flesh wound or whatever he said.
That was such a good quote, though. He seemed so hurt also. You just know that he is he didn't sleep a wink last night. But, okay, we talk about the Chargers. They're missing a lot of key guys offensively, and they still hung in there with the Chiefs until, obviously, the very last drive. The thing that's so impressive to me is, and you mentioned it briefly, when it came to be crunch time, Chiefs charged down the field and they won that game and ate up like 4 minutes of clock.
Yeah.
And that's what they're so good at.
That's what they're good at.
Situational football when it really, really matters. And that's all that the playoffs is. I'm hoping I'm caping for the Chargers a little bit. I love Harbaugh. I just like the way their team is built. I think their offensive line is really good. And that's probably some of the reason for the lack of pressure. But if they get some of these dudes back, like Lad McConkey, they could make a pretty serious playoff push. And I hope they do because I like that team. I like Herbert a lot too, man.
I like Herbert, yeah.
Piggybacking what he's saying with all of the injuries that they have right now, do you guys believe in moral victories even when you lose, like for a team like this?
No, I don't. Not
last night.
Not for the Chargers because they've been knocking on the door so long. And I don't think in the West. Mm-hmm. And I don't think until they kick the door down and beat this team,
handily.
They got to beat them.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it with regularity. There was a time where I thought this was close. And I think it will be close in maybe a year because I think the Chargers have done a lot without much. I mean, their offensive line's very good. They also gave up 5 sacks to the Falcons last week. So Chiefs just couldn't find a way to get him down. I will say this, though, and this is to wrap it up so that nobody thinks I'm complimenting the Chiefs, okay? I don't think they're that talented. I don't think that they have some of the positions that they had on lock last year. I mean, corner being one for sure. And that's a big, big deal, okay? I don't think they're that good, but they're playing to a level late in games where they can get out of trouble. And that's the whole thing. Bo, you talked about it. That's playoffs. That 4-minute possession, it begs the question, what was the Chargers' third down situation? I can't remember before they kicked that field goal. Fourth down. What was it, 4th and
11? The last
11?
Field goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th and 11.
You got to wonder
19.
You got to wonder if part of it was if we can get a better play on third down, and I would have played for 4-down territory and tried because it's just different when Mahomes needs a field goal to beat you. It does factor into the way they call plays. And the way they operate, right?
Yeah.
And so when you give Mahomes 4 downs, effectively at midfield or whatever it is, after that bad kick, Dicker line drive kick, you take it to the 40.
Yep.
If I'm Harbaugh, if I'm Greg Roman, and I'm sure they were thinking about this, maybe the right thing to do, not on 4th and 11, but had it been 4th and manageable, would have been to go. Mm-hmm. And cement that you had to get in the end zone if you were the Chiefs.
Yep.
And, because what you get still is Derwin James killed Pirine on that. I think it was 3rd and 10. Yeah, it's 3rd and 10. Derwin killed Pirine. I don't know how Mahomes got out of there to make that throw. It was like a jump pass, vintage Mahomes. That's what I'm saying. That guy is still there. He's still Patrick Mahomes. It's just his greatness is not going to be unlocked with the group he has around him with tackle play. But it's the same thing on 3rd and 7. He's almost like I've seen him do this before where he'll run right up to the line of scrimmage. And it's like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible where he's going under the lasers. It's like there's a laser across the field at the down marker, and he knows right where to be. And he almost contorts his body to be able to stay behind it and make that throw. And he's always pulling coverage up. It's just so hard to get them off the field in 3rd and manageable as long as they can stay in 3rd and manageable. But last night at times it was harder for them to do that. They're help at the end of the game. But what happens if a team comes out with a solid game plan and really gets a lead on them?
It's interesting when Chris Collinsworth pointed this out, but he said when Patrick gets out of the pocket and is running towards the line of scrimmage like you were just talking about, he was saying he's not looking to run. He's looking to throw, but he wants to pull the defense towards him.
He wants to pull coverage.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's wild that he's able to do that every single time.
So routinely.
Every time.
Because the 12-yard tiptoes, they hurt too.
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do is give up a first down on quarterback scramble. That's the thing that guys really get chewed out about. And the second-level guys feel that. But it would be better if they stayed, on their coverage.
Is there anything you can tell a defense where, specifically that 3rd and 7, is there anything Mahomes is running up to the line of scrimmage? He's got, I think, 3 or 4 charges in his face. 2 are coming straight on. 1's coming from the line of scrimmage. is there anything you tell the defensive line that, like, all right, if you're coming sideways from the line of scrimmage, you see he's pretty bottled up, should you tell a D lineman guy to at least look and see if there's a target to drop off onto? Does that make sense?
No, I mean, I think generally if there's like a crosser who's sat in a hole and you're the backside 3 technique or end, and all of a sudden the play's all the way over there and you're humping it, like, yeah, you could divert and pick him up for a second, but like mostly your job is to take out the quarterback. And so, that's what puts them in such a bind, is like if he pulls coverage off, they're going to convert almost every time. And so that's vintage Mahomes, and it's still there. But I do think Josh Allen right now, I'm comfortable saying he's the best quarterback on the planet right now.
6 touchdowns.
But the whole thing is like Mahomes has owned this decade. So if we're talking about who's got the best, Hall of Fame credentials, or who's got a chance to be the best quarterback of all time, like it's not a conversation right now. Mahomes has done a lot more in his track record as far as like winning's concerned. But if I had to draft a quarterback right now, and I'm not being a prisoner of the moment because it's a slow cooked take, I'm probably taking Josh. And that's no disrespect to Mahomes. I just haven't seen enough of it this year. Like going into the playoffs, Josh is the best quarterback on the planet.
He's an alien. He's the best quarterback in the universe.
That's what McVay said. Well, there's some other planet that they're playing football on. Multiple. The whole, like, there's probably another Earth out there. There's probably another Josh Allen out there somewhere. But as far as on this planet, yeah, I don't know.